think I've just managed to start the recording myself, so perfect. I'm going to get going then. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Georgina Peacock and I'm one of the Workforce Transformation Project Managers here in the Integrated Care Board, and my role is system facing, so a lot of the projects that I run are for everybody in health and social care across Hertfordshire and West Essex, and this is just one of those projects. So the Mary Seacole programme is one of our leadership programmes, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about that today and hopefully encourage you to apply if you feel like it's the right fit. So we've just got a short half an hour. We're just going to have a bit of a whistle-stop tour through some of the key questions around what the programme is, who's it for, when and where it's delivered, how it will be delivered and why you should apply. And then we'll have a Q&A section at the end as well, and we'll have one of our old facilitators join us hopefully to answer some of those questions along with me as well. Okay, so what is the Mary Seacole programme? The Mary Seacole programme, is, as I said, is one of the leadership development programmes which is offered and has been designed by the NHS Leadership Academy. So the NHS Leadership Academy run their programmes across the whole of the nation, and this is one of them. It's been designed by global experts and it's been kind of tried and tested for quite a few years now. We here in Hertfordshire and West Essex deliver a local programme, so we use local facilitators. So your facilitators will be people that just work in your organisations and in other organisations across Herts and West Essex, and they have kind of ordinary jobs and then they just take this up as an addition because they're passionate about leadership. The programme was named after Mary Seacole, who's pictured on the slide. She was a British Jamaican nurse in the 1800s, and she was quite instrumental in some things that happen in the NHS now, like hygiene and different things like that. She was really instrumental in bringing forth a lot of those healthcare standards, and she also paved a way for diversity in the NHS. So yeah, that's why the programme's been named after her, and you'll learn a little bit more about that in one of the introductory workshops. The programme is designed to give individuals an increased awareness of your own abilities and equip you to lead others effectively and to work with others effectively. So it's aimed at kind of the people that are in their first kind of leadership roles. And at the end of the programme, you will be awarded an NHS Leadership Academy Award in Healthcare Leadership. Oh, I think I might have skipped forward a bit there. Okay, hopefully it will stay on slide 4 this time. So who is it for, where and when will it be delivered? So I've kind of started to touch on who's it for, but it's for first-time leaders in health and care. And so for those in formal positions of leadership with responsibilities for people and services. So the reason that we say this is because in a lot of the workshops, as you go throughout the different modules and have to start implementing some of the things, it's best if you kind of already have people there that you line manage or a service that you support to manage to be able to implement those different things that we're talking about. And so yeah, that's why we kind of say that. But if you're sat here thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I'm quite in that position yet, or it might not quite fit you depending on kind of what different environment that you work in, have a conversation with your line manager, see if they can give you a stretch opportunity. It's really just for that implementation. Once you go through the different workshops. So it will be delivered across four workshops over 6 months, and we've set the dates for cohort 1 and cohort 1.1 and cohort 1.2, which we're recruiting for at the moment. So the first workshop will be delivered in person. So we really hope that the rest of them are delivered virtually. So we hope that the first one being in person will help you to build up those relationships with each other and just make the rest of the virtual workshops a little bit easier. So yeah, that's how they will be delivered, and there's some dates there. So how is it delivered? So as I said, it's delivered over 6 months and across 12 different units. So another key thing which I want to get across is the kind of commitment. So with each unit, each one will take between 5 and 10 hours of online study time. So you will get access to what we call a virtual campus. Some people shorten it to a VC. So if you hear VC, that's what we mean. And it's full of different articles and videos, and you spend time going through that yourself and kind of teaching that to yourself, and then you come together in the workshops to discuss that and to have that kind of peer-to-peer discussion and thinking about how that's really applicable in the workplace. So yeah, between 5 and 10 hours for each of the different units, and people split this up very differently across the week. So that's something else to discuss with your line manager as well. So units 1 to 8 cover leadership fundamentals, and they build on each other as the program progresses. So it's kind of one of those things where you'll use some of the learning from the first units as you go through the rest of the units. And then units 9 to 12 can be taken at any point, and they're related to these kind of core management skills. So finance, recruitment and selection, HR, and appraisals and annual reviews. In terms of assessment on the VC, the virtual campus, there's space for meaningful contributions, which is a bit of a mouthful, and this forms part of the assessment. So you're asked to contribute there, and your facilitator will read those contributions and kind of comment back on them. And I think it's just to really make sure you're engaged with the online content. You have to attend all 3 workshops. So the second 3, you have to attend all of those, and preferably the introductory one also. And then at the end of the 6 months, there's a submission of a 2,000-word assignment. And then, as I said, you'll be awarded with a Leadership Academy Award in Healthcare Leadership. Okay, so I was hoping to be able to have a kind of ex-participant who had gone through the programme, or I should call them a graduate really, but nobody was able to attend today. So I was hoping to play a video instead. I'm not sure if this is going to work or how it will work, but you have to let me know if you can hear it once it plays. Oh, I think it's thinking about it. I'm just going to stop sharing and try a different way to do that. So just give me a second if that's okay. While I'm just looking for the video, if you have any questions, start putting them in the chat, and we'll get to them in the Q&A section, and hopefully we'll have someone else join us as well to answer them. So yeah, start to think about if you have any questions at all while I try and get this video working. Okay, I'll just try this instead. If my internet is strong enough, I don't know if Ottilia, if you're still on the call, if you can try and load the video up.
Bear with me 1 second, I'll do that.
Thank you. And I'll just start to look at some of the questions. And again, feel free to ask any questions in the chat and we can try and get to them. So the first one is, do you have to have done the Edward Jenner course before doing this course and have fully completed it, including the assessment? So no, it's not a prerequisite of the Mary Seacole course at all. The Edward Jenner is one of the other, for those that don't know, one of the other Leadership Academy courses which they offer. And it kind of sits, if you were to like line them up, it sits before the Mary Seacole course. It's something that you do as kind of an earlier leader. So if you've completed it, that's great, and you can write about that in your application form. But if you're partway through completing it and haven't quite yet, then that's okay. And if you don't even know what it is, then that's fine as well. You're very welcome to apply. Where will the in-person workshop be held? So we're still working that out. Provisionally, they'll be in Welwyn Garden City, but that is subject to change. We're just working with your facilitators at the moment to see if they'd like to host locally, but provisionally Welwyn Garden City. Ottilia may have just been asked to get the video up, so we'll see if that works.
Maybe. Let's see.
They're in the same office with bad Wi-Fi, so maybe not.
if it's going to work, and if you can hear it as well. Please let me know if you can hear. Oh, yeah.
I feel I've definitely become more confident as a leader. And even colleagues of mine have even said, you know, if you look back to kind of how I was before starting the Mary Seacole programme, I was probably the one that would be in a room and not be very vocal. You know, I'd kind of just maybe shy back a little bit from speaking out in meetings, or, you know, kind of stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I had a very kind of clear vision as to what I wanted to learn and what I needed to learn in order to progress into a more senior role. So when I looked at the Mary Seacole programme and I saw the modules and kind of what it addressed, it just fit in really nicely with where I was in terms of my own personal development. What surprised me was just how much I needed to apply myself to the course in order to get what I needed out of it. It comes with a significant workload, really, and it has to, because it goes into a lot of depth around leadership, and it involves you having to go back into your working role and consolidate some of that. So it's not just about the time that you spend at home doing the theory and, you know, doing the online modules, but it's about having that time day to day to consolidate it and apply it as you go along. In terms of outcomes from the Mary Seacole programme, since finishing the course, I'm now in a different job role. I've progressed from being a care coordinator and a senior occupational therapist to being a clinical team manager of an acute home-based treatment team. And when I went for the interview for that role, it was very apparent that I was drawing on a lot of the knowledge which I'd gained from doing the Seacole programme. If you see something that you want to improve, or you want to improve the experience for a particular group of people, or improve an element of the service that you work in, you can do that. You don't have to be in a formal leadership role or a formal management role to make a significant change. You can step up in whatever role you're in and achieve that. For anyone who's considering doing the programme themselves, definitely do it. And I tell everybody that anybody who mentions at work, like, they're looking for applications are open for Mary Seacole, I'm like, do it, express your interest, because it has genuinely been one of the best things that I've done for my own development.
Amazing, thank you so much, Tidia, for managing to get that working when I couldn't. Hopefully that was useful then, just to hear someone's experience and hear how it's kind of developed them and changed them. I'll go back to answering some questions, and as I say, hopefully we'll have Valerie join us in a second, because I can already see there's some questions that I'm not too sure about that hopefully she'll be able to help with. And feel free to put your hand up if you have questions that you'd like to ask, or pop them in the chat and we'll try and manage that. So Stephen has said, I applied for the programme last year. I was accepted. For some reasons it got cancelled. Do I have to apply again? So the way that it's working here is, because we're managing it on like a local level, the organisational development departments within your respective organisations, or if you're in primary care, then the training hub are managing the application process, and then they'll tell the central team who has got a place. So if you've got questions around that, if you've applied before, or you're looking for the application forms, if you can try and direct those questions to your organisational development departments, that would be great. And if you don't know who they are, your OD departments or the training hub, email the Mary Seacole inbox and we'll be able to find out for you. So Stephen, if you just ask them, they probably have your application on record. So try and have that conversation with them and go from there. And if they don't have your application on record, just mention again that you've the circumstances you applied and were accepted and then got cancelled. Helen's asked, is this purely online except for the initial face-to-face workshop, and does it include any role play? So yes, apart from the initial face-to-face workshop, it will all be online through, as I was explaining, the virtual campus, which is the self-directed learning, and then the other workshops are virtual, so they'll be probably delivered over Teams. In terms of role play, I'm not 100% sure, and I'm hoping that is something that Valerie will be able to answer if she joins. So we'll come back to that, because I do know some of the other leadership programs have kind of similar things in, don't they? So I can see where that question has come from. What's the location of the face-to-face course? I work remotely, so we'll need to plan time to get there. Yes, so I think I mentioned that we've provisionally booked out a room in Charter House in Welwyn Garden City. So this is where the ICB is based. But it is subject to change, and we'll confirm as soon as we can if it might be in another location. We've just got asked the facilitators to see if they have anywhere that they can host, but provisionally it will be in Welwyn Garden City. Ah, perfect. I can see that Valerie has joined. Hi, Valerie. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're not feeling 100%, so thank you so much.
You're
I don't know if you just want to
welcome.
introduce yourself, if that's all right, Valerie, and then I've got a question for you already.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Valerie Brown Beckford. I have COVID at the moment, so really feeling like tense. And I was teaching this morning, so it's great to be here. I'm not promising I can answer all the questions, but I used to be a Mary Seacole facilitator for quite some time. So I'll try and answer as best as I can.
Bless you. Thank you so much for joining again. I'll try not to ask you too many questions, only the ones that I really can't answer because of your voice, bless you. So the first one is, does the Mary Seacole include any role play? I know some leadership programs do, so is there any role play element?
No, so there's no role play. You'll be happy to hear. What you do have is a lot of breakout rooms or breakout exercises. And most of the leadership programs that we do run do have a lot of group exercises, because I also lead the Inclusive Career Development Program.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So yeah, there's lots of times where you'll need to implement things kind of into your work life as well, and into your day-to-day work. But that's good to know that there's no role play. I think I'm on to Emily's question about how many spaces are there on the course. So we're hoping to open a cohort 1.3 as well later on this year. Per cohort, there is 30 places, I think, off the top of my head. So it will be 60 places that we're currently recruiting to that's across the whole of Herts and West Essex. And the programme is really popular. So I just urge you, when you're filling out your expression of interest forms, to kind of take the time to explain why you're interested in a place, because that is really important, so that the people that are deciding can kind of get the full picture. But we know that it's popular, so we are hoping to run more, and we're currently in the process of training up some more facilitators as well. So hoping to release some more cohorts also. I think Valerie's answering a little bit in the chat as well. But for those that maybe can't see, I'll just read them out. So our online workshops a whole day, and yes, they are the whole day, but the introduction workshop the in-person introduction workshop will just be half a day. And so I think we decided that they'd be in the morning, but again, we'll confirm the timings and everything. But yeah, half a day for the first ones. Do you have to be in a leadership position before being able to go on the course? So I think Valerie was kind of saying that they just need the opportunity to be able to implement things. So the opportunity to have kind of informal step up opportunities. But yeah, I don't know if you want to say any more, if you can, on that, Valerie.
Absolutely. And it's spot on with what you've just said. It's being able to implement what you're learning on the program. So, for example, if you're leading a team or leading on a project, then that's a great opportunity. But even if you're not leading a team or on a project, there's always other opportunities for you to implement what you'll be learning on the program. So please do not let that put you off. It's an exceptional program. It does challenge the mindset towards movement.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, just having something, that's what I was saying about having a conversation with your line manager, just to see where you might be able to implement these things, if it's a project, or if you can maybe help with the line management of somebody or a service, then those are great opportunities. But yeah, just have those kind of conversations with your line managers. Okay, I think we've come to the end of the questions in the chat. Did anybody feel free to keep putting them in the chat, or if anybody wanted to raise their hand at all,
Right.
if
So
anyone has any more questions.
I can see one here about the Edward Jenner. So this was a conversation we had about 2-3 years ago about whether or not to make the Edward Jenner the prerequisite for the program. And, you know, despite the conversation, we hadn't arrived at a destination, but we do encourage you to complete the Edward Jenner because it really does set the scene for you to then start on the Mary Seacole program, purely because of what you'll be learning from the Edward Jenner program that you can then transfer across to Mary Seacole. And the Edward Jenner program, as you know, it's free also and accessible to everyone. Has anybody completed the Edward Jenner or have heard of the Edward Jenner? Okay. All right. So I know Georgina will share the link with you so you can
Yeah, I can
register.
share the links. You can have a look. It's
Yes.
just an online thing
Something.
that you do
Correct.
yourself rather than having to be facilitated. But I had answered this question before, and I'd said that you don't have to have completed it. That's an interesting perspective then from a facilitator who's saying that it's really useful to have completed it.
Yes.
But it isn't a formal prerequisite of the
Prerequisite,
course. Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
right.
but it's something that's been discussed for the last 3
That's
years
really
at
useful.
national level, and we did agree that yes, it should be a prerequisite purely
Okay.
because of what it offers.
Yeah, a lot of the Leadership Academy courses are quite reflective and encourage you to be really
Yes.
reflective. So that will give you a bit of a head start into thinking a little bit like that. So that's useful. I'll find the link and send it around. So I can see Lauren's asked, how can we express our interest and apply? It looks like from your email address that you're from primary care. Is that right? I think you're on my screen actually. So yeah, I can see you nodding. So it'll be the training hub. I don't know if you've ever had contact with the training hub before from the ICB that will manage that process. So if you can contact the training hub, I again can find the email address for them if you don't already have that. I can see a few people are currently doing it on Future Learn, so that's great. That will hold up really well, and make sure to write that down in your application forms that you have done or you are doing the Edward Jenner, because that will be useful. And yeah, even if you've not done the assessment model yet of the Edward Jenner, you can write down that you're in the process of doing the Edward Jenner, Emily.
And something else I'd like to add, Georgina, which is the contributions, because that's where we have found from experience that a number of people struggle in terms of the managed experience. So it's after each module, you are encouraged to then log on to the online platform and complete your online contribution, which is a reflection on the teaching session. Your facilitator will then go in and have a look. It's not about a score. It's just about having a look at what you have written as your individual reflection on the taught module and ask you some coaching questions around that. So if a facilitator feels that you hadn't expanded enough on the topic and the learning acquired from that, they may ask you a couple of questions, coaching questions to say, have you considered X? And what if you did? What would be the outcome? Just to give you an example. But don't leave those meaningful contributions to pile up, please. When you leave them and they pile up, it really is hard to catch up. So as quickly as you can do them after each thought session, it works in your favor. That way you're giving quality and value to the reflective piece. It's also a lot for the facilitators to manage when they've piled up. You can imagine doing 6 or 8 for one person and then have that for the other 24. When we did it, we had 24 per cohort. That was a lot. So please do them as you finish your sessions.
Great, thank you, Valerie. That's good tips for anybody that will get a place and will start with us in a few months. Does anybody have any last questions? We have a few minutes left. I'm just looking for the Training Hub email address, but if anybody has any questions, we can still answer.
I've got a Training Hub email address, Georgina. I'm just putting it in a chat.
Perfect, thank you. Searching through my emails trying to find it and couldn't, so thank you. If nobody has any final questions at all, I guess I'll just kind of confirm that if you are interested in applying, then please contact your organisational development departments, who will have expression of interest forms, and hopefully Ottilia will also put in the chat the Mary Seacole email address, which we've got. And so if you can't find your OD email addresses, then email us and we'll try and connect you to the right people. And yeah, it will be an expression of interest form that you complete. It needs to be signed off by your line manager. Please make sure your line manager signs it, or we won't be able to accept your application. We just need to make sure you've had those conversations and that they're on board with this as part of your development. And then, as I say, your OD departments will get back to you around if you've been successful or not. There may be situations where people are on waiting lists. As I say, it's quite a popular programme, and so don't be disheartened if you put on a waiting list. It just means that there's lots of people in the organisation and across all of Herts and West Essex that want a space, and you hopefully will get a space at some point because we are starting to roll these out again. And in the meantime, for those that haven't done the Edward Jenner, you can be doing that to prepare yourself well. So that's a very good recommendation from Valerie. I'm just going to double check in the chat. Will you email the link for Edward Jenner programme? Yes, I'll email the slides around so you've got the slides as well as the link for the Edward Jenner programme and the different email addresses that are useful. And then someone else has asked, what if you're unable to attend the in-person session? Is there a way to join remotely, or will that go against you? So I don't think we'll be able to do a hybrid for that first session. I don't think that necessarily works very well, but I will talk with the facilitators a bit more about that. But it won't go against you. It's the 3 workshops after that you have to attend as a mandate, and only in exceptional circumstances kind of thing will accept that. And that's a mandate from like the national team who have set up the programme.
Yes.
So yeah, it's really important to attend those last 3, but we can talk to you about that first one. But would encourage you to go because it will start to build up those kind of relationships. Perfect. And then Ottilia has put in the Training Hub email address. The Training Hub email address, just to clarify, is for anybody working in a primary care setting. And then hopefully everybody that works in a different organisation will have a contact for their organisational development departments, or you can contact the Mary Seacole inbox. How quickly do we need to apply? So applications close on the 2nd of February, I want to say off the top of my head. So quite quickly, I definitely look to contact your OD department or the Training Hub probably today to try and get that process started. So yeah, as quickly as possible is the answer to that. And please feel free to email us any questions at hpft.maryseacole@nhs.net. We'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. And where you registered for this webinar on the website, just keep looking back there. If there's any updates to anything, we'll put them on there. Perfect. I don't know, Valerie, if you wanted to say anything else.
No, I think I've said all that I need to say. As I said before, it's just reinforcing the importance of the meaningful contributions, because that's the bit facilitators and participants struggle with the most.
Great, thank you, Valerie. And yeah, that the meaningful contributions are all in the time that I said. I can't remember what it was. I think it was 5 to 10 hours per unit. That's all within that time. So if you look over the slides again or over the website, if you're wondering kind of what kind of commitment it is, it's clear there. Great. Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for coming, and I hope you feel better. And thank you everyone else for coming as well. And yeah, hopefully it was useful for you to find out a little bit more.
Thanks, everyone, and good luck
Thank
with
you,
the
everybody.
program. Please go ahead and apply. Don't wait. It's about your career aspiration. So please, we're looking for those application forms.
Thank you, Valerie.
You're